This is Book Talk. I'm your host, Anthony Moirore. At Book Talk, we have authors come and tell us about their books. And it's always been a great time hosting authors here. Today, we have a guest who is known as Melanie, and she's written a book known as Culture Impact. Her and some other people, but she's going to explain to us how it all happened, where it began, and what actually is culture impact. It has got something to do with the strategies to create world-changing workplaces. That's just to prepare you. If you have a question, please ask. If you have a comment, we love feedback. So ask, comment, and we will appreciate you. And without taking one more minute, I'm going to invite you to join me as we go together to meet Melanie. Here we go. Hello, Melanie.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Welcome to Book Talk.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here today.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you here. Now, you might have noticed that I'm afraid to pronounce your second name because,
I love it. I love
yeah,
it.
tell us your second name, and
Yeah,
I'm curious to know where it comes from because I haven't seen it before.
thank you. It's just Booher. We don't pronounce the H, so that's my
Okay,
husband's name. Booher, Melanie
okay,
Booher. Thank you.
okay.
Thank you for
Okay. Where,
asking.
where are you? Where are you based?
I am in Cincinnati, Ohio, in the U.S., so in the Midwest. So
Okay, that's beautiful. And where is the origin of that name? That's one
I
thing I
think
was.
that's
Yeah.
German and Dutch, if I am
Okay.
correct.
Mm-hmm.
But over here we're a big melting pot. So my family is more on the Italian, Native American, Irish side. So I mean, we've got a little bit of all kinds of stuff going on over here. So
That's beautiful. Every day we have guests come and tell us things, and we find new ideas. And so you come here with the Culture Impact. That's a book that we are going to discuss today. But even before we go deep into that book, we would like to know a little bit about you. What is it that you do, and how is it going?
thank you. Thank you for asking. So I am a culture coach, which when I first started that terminology 8 years ago, I think I was the first one to kind of say that. And people are like, what is that? What do you do exactly?
Yeah.
Um, my passion has always been in the world of human resources. So helping organizations with their people processes, those kinds of things. And so I started my own business a few years ago and recently actually merged with a recruiter and another HR services partner. And
Mm-hmm.
so we actually have this, like, I call it like a perfect tripod of HR services, but we always utilize a culture lens. My LinkedIn tagline is life's too short to work with jerks. And I have to tell you that that really resonates with a lot of people in today's world. Like people just deserve to enjoy their workplace, what they're doing, their life's passion. And my company is trying to make that a reality. So that's what I write about all the time is workplace culture and how we can do that better.
Okay, that's good. So we're gonna find out about that culture because to many of us, we are also hearing it for the first time. But we are glad that you're here to tell us more about it. When did you actually start writing? When did you get the passion to start writing?
Yes, I mean, I've been writing like blogs and posts for quite some time, but I definitely started before COVID. I had started my solo book, so I have a variety of books out. Culture Impact is the most recent one. My solo is called Conscious Culture. It's also out there as well. And
Mm-hmm.
so I started that oh my gosh, if I put that out in 21, I think I started it in 18 or 19, but it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't until COVID really hit. Oh, thank you for pulling that up. It wasn't until COVID hit that I was like, I got to finish this. I need to light a fire and make this happen. And,
Yeah.
I was having this moment it was because of COVID where a combination of the kids were home from school and I was having to work with my then third grader on reading. She was
Mm-hmm.
struggling. She was struggling with reading comprehension and being a good reader. And, as I love books. And so I was like, we got to work on this, right? We got to get her reading better. So we started reading the book Pay It Forward by
Mm-hmm.
Catherine Ryan Hyde. That's her book.
Mm-hmm.
And at least in Americans, we know this Pay It Forward book as this beautiful story about Trevor who his teacher puts up on the board, create something, or what's something you could do that would change the world. And
Mm-hmm.
Trevor comes up with the idea of paying it forward, where you do 3 profound things for other people, and then they pay it forward with 3 profound things.
Mm-hmm.
So, what wound up happening was I was reading this book with my kids, and they all loved it. And um, I had this epiphany of that's what I wanted to do with my work, right? How can I put what I'm doing into more people's hands and impact the world in a greater way? And so it really was one of those moments where I was like, okay, I got to do this. I got to finish the book. I got to make it happen. COVID happened. I had things kind of slowed down. I start putting, people would say pen to paper or typing, but I have to tell you, I pretty much voice texted most of my book. Like I
Mm-hmm.
spoke it. It was much easier and I didn't have to think about, getting carpal tunnel
Mm-hmm.
and really kind of just made it happen. And so set the deadline. And that's how Jody and I, so my business partner on the Influence Network Media side, that's our hybrid publishing company that helped put these books out. We kind of found each other in that process where I was like, all right, can I do this myself? Should I be self-publishing? Do I need a publisher? People ask all those kinds of questions.
Mm-hmm.
Jody and I kind of came together, and really what we created was this idea that we can help people through all the things that we learned in putting our books out. We can help simplify that process and help more people become authors as well.
That's just beautiful. So you say your company's name is
So I have 2 companies. So Influence Network Media is the one that is the hybrid publishing company that helped me put out these books. Jody Brandstetter and I, that's our business.
okay.
And then what I write about in my life's passion is the culture work. And so that's
Mhm.
people first.
Okay.
Right. And we have a HR consultancy. We help small to mid-sized businesses with their people problems and oftentimes culture. Um, so Culture Impact talks about that. And my chapter specifically is about gamification.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until recently when I started putting the gaming with culture that I started to have just a much more, I don't know, profound response to what culture is, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
lots of people, and I see a shout out here. Sorry. Hi, Philip. I see people tapping in and saying hello. We actually put out this game. So just kind of, this is a game called Cards for Culture.
Okay.
And my chapter talks about that, right? How we can take the things that we're doing in the everyday business world
Mm-hmm.
and make them fun. Like, isn't that kind of a neat idea that we can really gamify different elements of our business? And that's an engaging way to pull in your employees and make the work world much more fun.
Yeah. Now it's good you talk about gamification in the workplace. Now we all know that when we go to work, we go for serious business. Now, why gamification in the workplace?
Right.
Mhm.
I think especially coming out of COVID, I think people just deserve to enjoy what they're doing. Right.
Mhm.
So we talk a lot about creating best places to work environments and how do we make it something where people want to be. And in today's work world, turnover is a huge problem. Getting
Mhm.
the right employees is what lots of organizations are trying to do. And so when you make culture a priority and you say, hey, we value people, life is too short to work with jerks. Like we want to value and show people that we can get farther together, right?
Mhm.
Together we are stronger. There are certain strategies and tactics that you can put in place that make that happen. And what we've seen in the past is that people just trust their gut. They just smile and they say, I'm just good with people. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to trust my gut. I'm going to, wing it. but they would never do that with their financial plan, right? They would
Mm,
never do that with their marketing or their business strategy. Like they're much more intentional when it comes to those kinds of things. So what
mhm,
we've been able to prove, and we've done some surveying and talking to CEOs, is that the number was, on a scale of 1 to 5, how important is people and culture to driving your bottom line? And that is a very important question, right? It wasn't fluff, it wasn't feel good, even though we know that's important, but it was,
mm,
does it improve your bottom line as a business? Do people and
mhm,
culture? And the number we got back was a 4.8, which was like, yes, people and culture drive our bottom line. That was important. So then we asked some follow-up questions, right? Like, do you have a financial plan? 100%. Do you have a strategic plan? 97%. Do you have a marketing plan? 95%. But when we asked the question, do you have a people and culture plan? It was less than 10%. And we're
mm,
like, okay, wait a minute. As smart business leaders, there's a huge gap there, right? So less than 10% actually have an intentional plan, but it's a 4.8, wildly important. So we
mm,
call that the being in the elite 10%, the people that are being very intentional about workplace culture.
yeah,
And all we're trying to do is give people the tools to do it, right? So no more trusting your gut, no more, you know, I'd say, throwing it out there and hoping that hope's not a strategy, right?
mm,
But give people tools and books that they can read and they can take some tangible ideas and apply it back to their workplaces.
mm.
That's the pay it forward idea, right? That's the coup d'etat of what we're trying to do. Get people actual tactics and ideas that they can do to make it
That's
better.
beautiful. Now we have Philip, who says that nothing is more difficult to change than culture. And the question comes to you, Melanie. How easy has it been for you to change the things that you found and needed them changed? Or don't you change? Or yeah, tell us about that and bringing the culture story into a clearer perspective.
Absolutely. And Philip is absolutely
Mhm,
right. Nothing is more difficult to change than culture. And we kind of see it as like turning a boat, right? Or we talk about getting people rowing the same direction. If you turn the boat too quickly, you're going to tip the boat. You got to get everybody kind of flowing in the right direction. So we've seen some areas of success, and typically we're working in the small to mid-sized businesses. The bigger the business, the harder it is to
mhm,
change. But what we've also found is culture is felt at the team level. So if you are in a big company, really focus on the people that are in your immediate vicinity, right? Who are your teammates? Who are you working with on a regular basis? And how do you make that
mm,
happen? Um, so again, there's a variety of ideas we could go through in the book, and I'm going to focus on mine just because that's where I have my passion, and we've really focused on driving to the power of
mm,
habit. And I think most people recognize that if you set something in a habit, it doesn't feel like a chore, right? It doesn't feel like something I have to do every day. It's just something I
yeah,
do, right?
yeah.
So we ask, did you brush your teeth? Yeah,
Yeah, everyone
brush my
is
teeth.
brushes.
Good. Okay. Good job, Anthony. But you didn't have to like check it off your to-do list today, right? It's
No.
just something that we do every
Mhm,
morning. It's a habit. And that's what we want culture to be. So to make that happen, it's kind of like just moving the dial a little bit at a time, getting 1% better every day, starting with respect. Companies that don't have the baseline of respect, it would be really hard to do any of that.
mm,
Um, and then work it into your processes. So if I could kind of jump back a little bit. So when I talk about gamification, this game that we kind of came up with, and this was a um, birth kind of again through COVID. We were playing Cards Against Humanity or Apples to Apples, and my husband and I said, wouldn't it be cool if you had a game that you could play with leadership teams to really dig in and develop their culture? And that's what we did
mhm,
here. So this is a great foundation, and they don't have to have me to play this. People can get this game themselves and they can play it themselves. Um, it's literally cardsforculturegame.com if people want to check it out. But what we do in that is we set and define the values that people really find important. Then we blow out that definition. So we want to have behaviors. So as an example, many companies have the top 7 things that they value
mhm,
ish. 7: integrity, service, innovation, like whatever those are, they might put them on their conference room wall. It looks pretty. What we're saying is they can't just sit there. They've got to be part of your, remember, go back to that part of that habit and process. It's not your job to do it. It's not my job to do it. So when we define these and we build out the definition, so if we say service really matters, well, then it's important that you and I agree on what good service is, right? So if you think it's one thing and I think it's another, we have to come to terms with that. We got to have the discussion. And so we build out that definition for each of those values. And those are in the first 2 decks of cards. The third deck of cards is how we bring it to
mhm,
life. And that is kind of that's again the beauty in the process is, what do we do next? So example, we would put it in our recruitment
Mhm.
process. So every time we're out there recruiting people, we would ask really good questions about, are they a fit, or we call it a culture ad within our organization. We would ask questions like, okay, we believe in service. Tell me about a time you delivered legendary customer service. What did you do? And when they start repeating back that value that we've already defined, and they say things like, oh, I went above and beyond, I delivered in a timely manner, I gave the customer what they needed, not just what they asked for. We could say, oh, that's how we defined it as
Mhm.
well. So now they're on the same page. They know what they stand for. They're working it into their habits. Like, I mean, it's in their everyday language. It's in their recruitment process. It's how they coach. It's all those, right? They're working it in. Doesn't feel like a chore. It's something they get to do as opposed to have to do.
Mhm.
You just start seeing that trickle effect of making it bigger and bigger and showing up every day and not just sitting on one person's
Mm.
shoulders.
Yeah, and I'm
So,
curious to find out exactly how the game looks like because we are seeing it from the outside. Can you maybe take it out and maybe just
yeah.
explain it
Well,
for those of us who are
so
watching on video?
just to kind of give you a high
Okay.
level, I mean, we have directions. I also have some videos to help people understand how to play
Okay.
it. But the game is, it's three different decks of cards. So in the first deck of cards, they look like this. These are our keys to success cards. And the word will come up like there's different words. So in this example, the word's
Yeah.
passionate. It could be that you're great communicators, that you're authentic, that you are lead with integrity, that you're a role model. So what you're doing in this first deck of cards, there's about 50 of
Mhm.
them, somewhere here, is that you're sitting around with your leadership team and you're really pulling out which ones really matter to us, because they're all great words. No one's going to ever say, no, we're not, whatever, right? I know I'm not proactive. No, I'm not process. They're all important, but you've got to focus in on which ones are really
Mm.
important. So that's the first deck. What we're finding is the communication and conversations that come out of this is a huge, huge
Mm.
piece. Leaders just aren't having those conversations. We might say integrity matters to us, Anthony, but do we define integrity the same way? And in fact, I would say if we wrote down a definition, it wouldn't be the exact same words. And that's how leadership teams are
Yeah.
too. So the next piece is a much bigger deck of cards. I want to make sure these are then the teal deck of cards we get
Mm.
into. Okay. And these are the behaviors that drive those
Okay.
values, the gray deck.
Mhm.
So in here, you get into more definitions of like, what do we mean by that? So we praise in public, we criticize in private. We chip in and do our part because many hands makes for light work. We have an abundance mindset and avoid scarcity thinking. These are
Mm.
random. We listen generously and ask good questions. So these are very much driving to what are the behaviors that are our culture, right? What's happening when no one's looking, right? What are the things that just happen because that's how our culture is? So this deck of cards, then there's again a process that we do to get people to hone in on which of these really come to mind for your company, and then we match these back with the values. And what's interesting is this, it all does work out. I've never had anyone go, no, this doesn't fit with my
Mhm.
values. So that's kind of the second deck. And then at that point, you kind of stop and you create your key to success with the definition. And we make sure that everyone agrees and it's written in your company language. And then as you get into the third deck of cards, the gold deck, these are the bring it to life
Mm.
cards. And there's about 25 of those. And these are where you start seeing the how do we bring the culture into things like the common
Mhm.
language. We make sure our vendors align. We bring it into recruitment process, bring it into our performance. We demote, hire, promote, demote, align, and terminate employees based on our culture. If they're not a fit, they're out, right? Like, so we've got to be
Mhm.
intentional. We update our handbook and policies and we make sure those align. Um, there's a ton of different ideas in here as well. So again, these are the how do you make it happen. Now, this is where I would also say gamification
Okay.
continues. So you play the game, you bring it to life, and then you figure out fun ways to make it part of your habits. So like we have some online games that we play, some culture challenges that we do, which are with an app to keep it fun,
Mm.
right? So we have points and leaderboards and we give away prizes and rewards. And that's all part of the gamifying and making it fun for everyone in the company.
Mm. Yeah, and thank you that you mentioned things to do with an app because I was going to ask that because now post the pandemic, and even before that, people are more on online things, and so
Mhm.
even though they have physical cards to play with, then it's good that they also can do it online, and it's good that you brought that in. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, to anybody that has joined us as we are going on, we are discussing the book Culture Impact. That's strategies to create world-changing workplaces. What you just heard is one of the chapters that Melanie has done, and it's to do with gamification. That's well explained. Now, I know there are several other chapters that you may maybe not remembering all of them. So because I have them in front here, I could mention one, two, three to the people who are listening, just to know what they are going to find in that book once they buy it. Uh, but if you have read some of these chapters and you feel there's something that you would like to talk about, then you can always say that. So we have one chapter known as Beyond the Logo, Intentional Culture Creation. Another one is Become an Awarding Winning Workplace. HR.
And that's an interesting one there too, Anthony. Sorry, not to jump in, but like think about that. That's actually Angie Redmond's chapter, but we started a lot of this because we wanted to become a best place to
Okay.
work. So she's actually breaking down that process. How do you become an award-winning workplace? Awesome. We're coming at it from a variety of angles. And I'm sorry, I just get so excited about this. The idea, right, was I gathered people from across the United States and possibly, I don't even know if beyond, right, but to reach audiences that are
Hmm.
beyond because everyone does it differently. You know, just because I believe gamification is the way to do it, that's not going to appeal to everybody, especially generationally or whatever. So, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I'm excited hearing you mention the different chapters and
Now I
authors.
said you come in anytime that you feel like, and you did just that. So that's good. That's in order. So we have another one that talks about HR's role in company culture. Then we have now chapter number 5. That's your chapter, that is gamifying culture. And then we go to inner critics, impact through inclusion, culture repair, team impact, impactful leadership, culture matters, curiosity at the heart of inclusion. That sums it up. Those are the chapters that you
Mhm.
are going to find there. And
Well, and
yeah.
so hearing you say that, I don't know that the titles do all of them justice, right? But the idea that we recognize culture is felt in so many different ways. You heard the team chapter, you heard one based on
Mm,
leadership and how that impacts. You heard a couple representing what is DE and I. How do we make sure that we do justice if we can to bringing in unique different people, right? And valuing diversity and inclusion. Um, there was the one chapter about an inner critic. That's
mhm,
yourself,
mhm,
right? Like who are you bringing to the table and how are you impacting your workplace? And how do you get beyond
mm,
that? Uh, I heard you, someone, I think one of our authors also took an angle around like, and this is a very common thing too. Culture is also considered your internal brand of your
mhm,
company,
mhm,
right? So not only there's an employee experience that's happening there with your internal brand, but it gravely reflects on your external brand as well, right? So there's some marketing importance to why you should focus on your culture as
mhm,
well. And I think those are some really great call outs about people will say throw culture around just because it's a fun word, but what they forget is how much it impacts morale, performance, right? Communication, um, the things you'll start to see around. You know, you want to not have turnover. You want to retain your top talent.
mm,
For leaders that are family-owned businesses, this is how they leave their legacy, right? That they've built it up over time and people understand it and value it. Um, so there's a lot of things that we do with that. And I'm just really proud of these authors that have all come together to write this. There's a group of us that are actually going to attend CultureCon, which is a conference coming up in Madison,
mhm,
Wisconsin. It's a culture conference. And, you know, we're excited to be there and to keep learning and getting our message out
mm,
about how we do these things, how we do it in a great way. Um, and I would love, I mean, obviously, I would love to give this plug too. You know, one, we'd love you to read the book, but two, all of these authors are experts in their own world and in their own, you know, they're thought leaders. They're doing great things. So if their chapter resonates with you, please reach out, right? Connect with them on LinkedIn. Maybe they are the speaker for your next company event, or you know what I mean, or they can come and help in some way. But I'm really just proud of them for putting it out there, and all of them were becoming authors for the first time, which is pretty
Wow, that's
exciting.
beautiful. Yeah, and
Yeah.
thank you very much for sharing this, because there are many of us who may not have heard of this topic that you've brought. So we appreciate you taking your time and coming and sharing it with us.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
as we also appreciate every person who's watching or listening, even those who are getting to do so from the recorded version, because some will see it after we are through with this live session. Now, you've written those books, you've written this one, and I'm curious to know what's in the future. Are you still writing something right now, or do you plan to write or release a book soon? Another one?
I love it. Thank you for asking. Let's talk future. So, with Influence Network Media, so that's our hybrid publishing company, we're working on a series right now. It's called the Impact
Mhm,
Series. So, Culture Impact was the first book in that series. Talent Impact is being written right now, and it's a professional development book,
mhm,
right? Why does training and development, learning and development, why does that even matter in organizations, and how do we push that forward? So that one's being written right now by a collective of leaders. And we've got another one that we are getting started called Forward Impact, and that's all about communication, so, strategies to unlock great communication within organizations. So that's a trilogy, if you will, of great books that are going to be coming out all in this Impact series. And if I could, Anthony, just kind of say this too, this idea of writing together, I know some people have maybe muddied the waters a little bit with this, but what we're finding is this beautiful um, process that we've pulled together where you can the bonding and helping of each other coming from an abundance mindset with these authors has been amazing,
mhm,
right? We're helping each other, we're listening, we're learning, every time I share this book right now, I'm helping promote other authors who have a passion like
mhm,
mine. And so that's the beauty behind what Influence Network Media is doing. If you have a topic that you love, and maybe you have a few people you want to write about, you want to join you in writing about that, that's what we do. That's what these collective books are. And there's a brilliance behind the strategy of networking together, getting the book out together, um, learning from each other, and then creating this kind of community of authors that all want, business growth and helping other people, sharing their word, whatever it is, speaking at conferences, and some people just leaving their legacy or sharing their knowledge, but all under that realm of personal and professional
mm.
development. So we have an easy process. It is not expensive. I had to figure out for myself, how expensive would it be to write a book, and um, I can tell you that doing it as a collective is much more economical. So, anyways, just a plug for that. We're always looking for great, like what we call like a tribe
Mhm,
leader, someone who has a group of authors that want to write about a topic that they're passionate
mm.
about. Uh, we do some solo books as well. So we do help people with their solos, but I love that collective thought that goes in when you bring together a group of strong people that want to write about a really great
That's
topic.
wonderful. And for the person who's listening or watching and is interested to find out more about that, how can they know? How can they get that
Yeah.
information?
So if you go to
Mhm,
overnightauthor.com, we actually give away one of our chapters, our marketing fusion book. We wrote an entire chapter about why would I write a book? How could that help me in my business? And so that we give away that chapter for free. So you can get that there, overnightauthor.com. Our website is INM Author. So it stands for Influence Network Media. INMauthor.com. Thank you. There it is. And if you can search there or do the /solo or /collective to learn about, do I want to write as a group? Do I want to write my own? We list the prices out there. There's no secrets. Um, and for us, we wanted to remove that
mhm.
barrier, the barrier of price. We remove the barrier of the unknown. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to get on
Yeah,
Amazon. Uh, and then the barrier of time, right? Because a solo book takes a lot more time. A collective book, you can just focus on your one
yeah.
chapter, and it frees you up to be able to do it.
Yeah, wow. Thank you very much for sharing all that. So, we've heard about culture impact from Melanie, and we've also heard about the influence media,
Yes, Influence Network Media.
influence
Yes.
network media. And we appreciate you for taking your time and sharing everything that you've done with us. and I know that we will have some people reach out to you or connect and or got and buy the book because the link is there. Hey, you who's listening or watching, the link is there to get the book. Culture Impact: Strategies to Create World Changing Workplaces by Melanie,
Thank you so
by
much.
Melanie Booher and
Thank
many
you so much.
others. Yeah, welcome.
I appreciate it. And we really do say making the world better, one leader or one workplace at a
Wow,
time.
that's beautiful. So that's about it for today. This has been the Book Talk, and I've been your host, Anthony Morore. Our guest today, Melanie Booher, and we are saying bye for now.
Bye for
Keep
now.
reading.
Thank you so much.
Yes, keep reading and keep culture alive. Yeah, here we go.
That's
Bye.
right. Bye.